Hello everyone, I am Carson Bishop. I am a senior at Blue Valley North, as she already said. I have Tourette's syndrome. This is very sensitive. So I'm probably going to be having troubles with this microphone the whole time, so bear with me. I've been a marching band member in the BVN band for 4 years, played trumpet ever since I was about your age. I am working on my Eagle Scout, and I am a professional weirdo, as some of my friends like to call me. I say friends, more like people I pay to pretend they're my friends. Anyways, what is Tourette? Well, Tourette, also known as Tourette syndrome or Tourette's, it's a disorder of the mind. Weird way to explain it. There's a lot of misconceptions about it in the world. And today we're going to clear any of that up. Now, how many of you have heard of Tourette syndrome before? All right, that's a fair number of you. All right, so hopefully this will all kind of be a recap for you. But so for those of you who don't know, Tourette syndrome is most often thought of as something like people yelling out swear words, which actually only affects about 10% of people with Tourette, and it's known as corporalia. But it's not at all what Tourette is as a whole. Although it does make sense that that's yelling out random things and making funny noises is the part that the media has taken and blown out of proportion, because I mean it's seeing people make random noises for no reason is kind of funny. But that's not what Tourette is all about. And today we're going to clear that up. So Tourette is a medical condition, just like something like asthma or diabetes or cerebral palsy, just like all those things, you wouldn't make fun of someone because they were using an inhaler for asthma. Unless you don't have a soul, but yeah, that's just what you do. So you shouldn't make fun of people with Tourette syndrome because of weird noises or movements that they make. And I'll continue to talk about that. Oh, sorry, I haven't been safe. All right. Okay. So, how many people have heard of tics before? All right. And now, how many people have heard of ticks? All right. The joke is kind of lost because you can see the screen, but there's a difference between those two. There's TICK, which is the arachnid that you usually think of that gets into your skin and bites your veins, starts sucking blood, and gives you all kinds of disease. They're a very big nuisance. I don't like those kinds of ticks. And then there's TIC, which are also kind of a nuisance, but not as much as the bug. So tics are the words for the movements or sounds that people make with Tourette. They're kind of uncontrollable, but not really. They're more like an itch than anything, an itch or a sneeze or a cough. Because when you have an itch, you can itch it immediately and get rid of the desire to itch. Or you can just ignore it and try to focus on something else, and eventually it might go away. Same thing with a sneeze or a cough. And that's what a tic is like. It's like an urge to do something that you can choose to not do, but it's not exactly the most comfortable thing to not do. And there are two types of tics. There are motor tics, and then there are vocal tics. So motor tics are movements of the body, like jumping all around like this. I actually don't know anyone who has that tic, but it'd be kind of awesome if they did. And vocal tics are sounds or speech that cannot be controlled. And an example of a motor tic that I used to have when I was around your age was this. Just sticking my tongue out and waving it around like a crazy person. Naturally, it's not something that you want to do if you want to have friends. It took me too long to figure that out. It didn't, so that's a joke. So, yeah, naturally Tourette can be embarrassing. So, yeah, there are ways to control it, but we'll get to that later. I'm getting ahead of myself, sorry. So there are two kinds of tics, both motor and vocal, that there are simple and complex tics. Simple tics involve just one set of muscles, and simple motor tics include things like eye blinking, nose twitching, shoulder shrugs, arm and head jerks, and simple vocal tics include sounds or words that include whistling, coughing, spitting, not going to show an example for that, sniffling, and barking. Don't want to show an example for that one. And complex tics are tics that include more than one muscle group, or more than one muscle group. So complex motor tics include stuff like hopping, clapping, throwing, touching, I'm not going to show an example for that one, and funny expressions. And then complex vocal tics are stuff like blurting out words or phrases, going back to the corporalia that most people associate with Tourette. Although again, that's not what a lot of people with Tourette have. So, going back to what tics feel like, how many of you have ever coughed? Alright, those of you not raising your hands, it's good for you, that's great, proud of you. So, that's, I can see some of you are coughing right now. So that, again, that's what a tic is like. I shouldn't have said that. That's what a tic is like, it's just, you have an urge to do something that's kind of hard to explain, but if you don't do it, it becomes more uncomfortable, or occasionally it will just go away. But yeah, that's what a tic is. It's not very different from an itch or a sneeze or a cough. And now, Tourette is something that you're born with. It's a neurodevelopmental disorder, it's a long word, which means that Tourette occurs and changes as the brain develops. So, you are born with Tourette, and it is considered a lifelong medical disorder, meaning that you have it your entire life, just like the color of your eyes or the color of your hair. Even though tics may disappear for many people as they get older, it's still there, just less noticeable. Tourette, just a fun fact, Tourette is 3 times more common in males and females, and it is hereditary in most cases, meaning it's passed along down the family. Yeah, there can be a first case, but it's not too common for a first case to be a thing. I'm not explaining this well. So it's usually just passed down through the family. And it is kind of treatable for many people with stuff like medications or behavior therapies and methods. Going back to the tic that I showed you earlier, that thing. I was able to get rid of that by doing something called habit reversal therapy with Dr. Christopherson, who, by the way, if any of you ever get the chance to meet Dr. Christopherson, we're talking about the same guy, he's awesome. I highly recommend meeting him. Sorry. We did this thing called habit reversal therapy, where instead of, when I felt the urge, just stick my tongue out and do all that stuff, instead of doing that, I closed my mouth and put my tongue on the roof of my mouth, which is hard to say when your tongue is on the roof of your mouth. Shouldn't have given that example. So that helped with that, and there are other ways to incorporate that with other tics. And now, what Tourette syndrome is not, it is not contagious. Just like you can't catch just like you can't catch the color of your friend's eyes unless you take them from them, you cannot catch Tourette. You are born with it, and it does not show up later in life. You have to be born with it. There's no exceptions to that. No one knows the exact cause of Tourette syndrome, but it is known that it's hereditary, again, the passing on through family, it's not contagious. Can't stress that enough. And Tourette is not constant. Tics come and go. They get better and worse over time, depending on your mood. They can be very severe or not. The more stressed you are, it tends to be the more tics that you have. For example, when you're loaded down with homework, usually that makes you tic a lot more than you would otherwise. Tics change over time. Again, it's gone. You may think it's not gone because I've been doing that a lot, but I promise you, I do not stick my tongue out anymore. Don't worry about me. And Tourette is not curable. You have it for your entire life, although it's not that bad of a thing normally, although for some people it is. As I said before, certain factors can worsen Tourette symptoms. Like tics get worse when you're feeling stressed, anxious, excited, fatigued, tired, or when you're not feeling well or getting sick. But on the opposite side of the spectrum, you can also stress or anxiety can also happen when you're doing good things too, like going on vacation, going to a party, talking to friends. I mean, have you ever tried to socialize with people? It's hard. People are hard. It's not fun. It is fun. Don't listen to me. On that front, all the stuff I'm saying about Tourette is true. People are great. Life lessons from Carson. So now, after all this, you might be asking, if Tourette isn't contagious and you can't really die from it unless you have a tic that's like strangling yourself, which would be very bad, you should seek help, then what